Today I'm going to show you a project I completed that I have been working on kind of side by side with the projects I've mostly been showing you on the channel. Again, the challenge has always been 15 minutes of production a day, but I'm totally allowed to do as much other production outside of the video as I want to, and this is one I just haven't been covering at all. And it hasn't been a lot of time. As you can see, it's actually a pretty sparse track. Here's only 15 channels, and these three are like basically the same. So really 13 channels of sounds happening here. This is a song I made for a friend who is starting a YouTube channel around art, and they want to have some music in the background. This is lo-fi music, very different from other things we've made. It's about 2 minutes of music to just kind of go with the time-lapse videos of drawing that they're going to be doing. I'll put the link to the channel down below if they've launched it by the time this video airs. And yeah, I'll just play it through here and then kind of walk through what we made. And that's the track. It's comes in just over 2 minutes long. This should be great for their videos. As far as sounds we have going on here, I started with these guys here are probably the thing that I should have labeled. Everything else has got some sort of label on it. This is the Hearth and Hollow by Hunter Rogerson sample pack from Spitfire. They have just a bunch of different folk instruments that you can kind of choose different types of. You can either use an ensemble or individual instruments, which is what I'm doing here, and you can pick what type of articulation you want them to have. It's not like the violin patch here is not a like bowed solo violin sort of patch. It is small folky details, so they'll have maybe a little brushed, brushed might have some like kind of bowed moments in it, but it's very free flowing, and you hear a lot between that one and the mandolin. This is a violin and a mandolin, these two patches here. There's a lot of sounds in the back that sound like a person sitting in a room recording. You hear like a lot of like kind of live noise. Those sound like pencil scratches or something. Just little details that are really pretty and help create a nice texture, a nice rhythmic texture. These don't change the entire track, so from beginning to end, they just have those exact same rhythms, those exact same note values, and exact same little like ostinato. And then we put in this Lonely Molecules pad. This is, it looks like I've probably deleted the channel I originally made this on. This is from Reactor, their Prism, Micro Prism, I think is called. This is one of the things you get for free when you download Reactor Micro Prism here. They've got it's just got a bunch of different sounds in it. One of my favorite ones is this Lonely Molecules patch. And this is basically that exact sound, unaltered, just two notes held in for the whole time. And that creates this beautiful pad with lots of little bell sounds happening in the background. Prism is like a modeling synth. It's like trying to make sounds the way the actual sounds get created in real life, with like an articulation and like an exciter and stuff. It's not a type of synthesis I know a lot about. I just know I like the sounds that it makes. So I pulled that in here. Those three guys there are kind of the foundation through the whole piece. They're just going the whole time. The drums are just a patch straight from Splice. And we have put a little bit of an EQ on there to make them a little bit more lo-fi. Without the EQ, it's a bit more full. A lot of high end, a lot of low end. So we have on this EQ, the low end kind of crushed down a bit, but we do want that kind of like muffled punch there. And then you take out just a lot of the high end. This will give you that lo-fi sound. I think if you're looking for drums and can't figure out why your drums don't sound good, actually it's funny. I always feel like with lo-fi drums, you think that they're all high end. Like when I listen to them at first, I'm like, oh, I hear a lot of like sort of sound, so it's high end stuff. But what's important is that it's missing that super high end. The sounds aren't in there. It's a lot of when I think about lo-fi, that's the sound I hear. So this EQ gave me the sort of drum sound I wanted. That sounded more like it's coming through a small speaker, coming through an AM radio. And so, yeah, when you put all those together, it gives you a nice... We're already pretty close to lo-fi here. The bass here is maybe the least lo-fi part of everything. It's not a very muffled bass, despite having a similar type of EQ curve here. I could probably make this a little bit more muffled, but I wanted there to be some information, not just sub bass, some frequencies in the top that like smaller speakers could replicate. And I'm actually pretty happy with how good this sounds on a smartphone. The thing that makes this bass work really well, I think, is the rhythm. I made sure to have it cut out every time the snare hits. Or especially as long as we're on this like long sustain where we're just like holding one pitch. So you hear the snare comes in kind of on 3 of every measure. So it's 3, 3, 3. And up here it jumps to a note. So I actually let the bass happen at the same time as the snare there. So basically it was anytime we were on the tonic here, I have it cutting out for that snare, and also just adding some other little rhythmic values in there, the bump, having it hit on the upbeats a few times, just create a nice rhythmic texture. But anytime I'm going up to the 4 or the 5 or down to the 6, I let it ring unless it's a really long note, and it just felt right to cut the note out there for the snare. And honestly, just these two sounds by themselves, I feel like I could listen to this. These ones are longer. Back to being cut out. Creating that pocket. And then the top end is all is the melody Simple Gifts by, who is this originally by? I have it pulled up over here. Joseph Brackett, back in 1848. This is a classic American folk song. You maybe know it as "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," or maybe as Appalachian Springs. Aaron Copland famously popularized this tune in Appalachian Springs. It's just this piano. This is just the Studio Grand piano from Logic. I put a little bit of extra reverb on top of it. That's the only thing I did. This is the charm verb from Melody. You can get this for free. We just have 2 lines. The first one is just the melody. The second one is a counterpoint line here that I just improvised. Importantly, I have the main melody ever so slightly higher in the mix here, 1 decibel higher. There you can see this one's at 2.4 and this one's at 1.4. And then, importantly, panned just a little bit to give it your ear the ability to differentiate between the melodies. I think it's an important thing if you're doing counterpoint in a piece, having 2 melodies happen at the same time that you want your ear to be able to hear. Panning is going to be a really important tool there. And then at the end here, just some chords to just sit in the background. It was funny. The very first time I was playing through it, I was like, oh, what if we put some chords here? And I just kind of played those in, and then I was like, oh, those are gentle and nice. And then kind of forgot about them. And then over here I was like, I kind of missed that. And I just like looped it. So these are very unquantized. No, most of this is unquantized up here. This is just played in organically. And if we come over and look at the notes themselves, you can see they're all, some of them are on beat, some of them are very off beat. It's supposed to be a very live performance. And then this hands off to a clarinet sound that we have rendered out here. This clarinet is just from the BBC Spitfire Audio BBC Symphony. This is free. You can go get this. There's just got a lot of good patches for symphonic instruments. And I also put a shaper box on it with a phaser. It's a very mild phaser. It's down at 59%, and then some EQ to take out the low end, mainly for the pop of the phaser. And that gives us this sound. If this was to be isolated like this, I would definitely not leave that phaser on. But as a small little texture in the background that I think most ears aren't going to notice in the full mix, I think it's a nice little touch. You hear it back there just a little bit. It kind of more just sounds like an extra percussive element, but it helps make the clarinet just a little bit more kind of like poppy in rhythm, especially because this one was also very not quantized, very just organically played. I think that was my first take of it, and it worked out well. We also, very subtly in the background here, have some pizzicato strings. This is not a free plugin. This is Albion 1 and their string library here. Just a little extra detail to it's kind of taking the role of the counterpoint line from the pianos up here, because I don't have two clarinets happening. Though I a few times you can see even in the MIDI notes there's a few moments where I do use clarinets at the same time. There's I kind of just like spontaneously have a few moments where the clarinets split and there's two of them happening, playing two separate lines. But you know, who's really paying attention? Orchestration, schmorchestration, it's MIDI. Last thing is all of our little sounds down here to help kind of tie things together. This guy was a cool sound off of Splice. If I turn off the reverb and the EQ, that's what he sounded like. The big difference here is the reverb is set at 100% wet and a 30,000 millisecond length there. It's very, very large reverb that takes this sound and turns into this. And then with some EQ just to kind of like rain it down just a little bit there. When you combine that with this guy here, it's coming in on the second scale degree of the key we're in here, which just creates kind of a nice tension without driving us in any specific direction. That's not too dissonant. And when you combine it with this noise riser here, which is just literally like a white noise going up, 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 and then reversing down, 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 down. And I wanted to get out of the way pretty quickly there, so it's got a fade on it. And those two combine kind of masks some of those lower frequencies, those womp sort of sounds that I didn't want coming through there. And yeah, it helps transition us into the back half. It's maybe the weakest part of the piece, but it's nice. I think that right here, you could really have a nice extra punch of some sort to get us into the back half of this groove. But for what it is fine. The rest of this is just little miles risers to get us into certain spots. So, yep, that's the piece. Again, you can go check out the channel this is going to be featured on down below. Once that channel's live, I will have it in the description. If you don't see it in the description, it's because the channel's not live right now. But yeah, that's all we did today. Made some lo-fi music. This is easy stuff to make, fun stuff to make, and I could see myself making a few more of these and putting out a little set of lo-fi music for you guys to play in the background of your streams and stuff, you know. Anyways, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.